Real, true educational, not fake news. Good morning. This is 17A4. It's on energy prices. It's an article in the Sunday Times yesterday, the 8th of March, this being the 9th of March. Flaming Cheek it's called. And it's about energy prices. Now, I have to say I used to have sympathy for people paying exorbitant energy prices, but you know, after the election, I think we deserve it. I think the people deserve to be poor, and I think they're going to be poor. And as many people tell me, and one good friend of mine who's a businessman says, until they're starving, until they can't even afford a pair of socks for the child or themselves, underwear or anything else, they will not change. It'll just take that type of depredation to change the present generation from the crowd of idiots that they are to something with a bit more sense. Now, one of the big things about all articles you'll read on energy, whether it be RTE with their fake news medium, the likes of all these people on there, Duncan Stewart and all of these, to whom I challenge to a debate. But one of the things is they put gas and electricity in the same bracket. Now, it's energy, but coal is energy, diesel, oil, petrol is energy. Why is gas and electricity combined? There's no reason why they couldn't be split up. They don't come on the same type of wires, the same lines or anything else. Well, the reason is that it's easier to hide the rascality when you have a bigger operation. Now, what the article says, and I'll read it here to you, is I'll just read bits of it. Jim Dollard, he found himself sitting in the house of the Oireachtas Committee. Now, don't forget, I wrote to these about the insolvency of Irish wind farms, the Oireachtas Committee, and public accounts. And he gave an account to them. And yet they have my dossier and they refused to read it. They refused point blank to read it, right? At the time, he was the executive director of Electric Ireland, which supplies half of the power used by households, electric power, in the Republic, and 30% of the electricity consumed by small business, right? They still have a lot of custom. I have the house with them, and I hope to change. I have the farm with Bord Gáis, and Bord Gáis are slightly better, I think. They don't harass me as much to pay. They're a bit decenter. Now, Dollard and his rivals found themselves engulfed in a media storm over failing to reduce the tariffs. This is the fancy word, you know, that's the price, you know, tariff. You don't go around any country or city area where working class people exist and start talking about a tariff. A tariff is usually known as a sentence for a criminal offence. You get a 4-year tariff. But this is the baloney they go on with, or make themselves look good, right? In line with the wholesale price of gas, which generates more than half of Ireland's electricity and heats 700,000 homes and businesses. Now, I agree with that. Gas does produce about half or more of electricity, probably a lot more, but it's roughly right. We're not arguing about it. Now, so I thought the whole idea was that we're going to have it done with wind energy. Huh? I thought we were going to have wind energy doing all this. Oh, where is it? In reality, gas, oil, coal and other means generates about 95% of all our electricity, if you measure it properly. There were words to the effect that they were creaming it, they were ripping us off. So this is what he said. But in my view is that the industry tries to build profits on the back of falling fuel price. If they try to build profits on the back of fossil fuel prices falling, they'll lose confidence. More old codology, more cod baloney. In other words, if the price of oil comes down and we try to build up a bit of reserve of money, we lose confidence. I mean, it doesn't add up. Nobody asks them these questions. Since then, Dollard has transferred to Electric Ireland's parent company, got a new job, a state owned by the SB. Now, these are the people who in 2004 issued a report saying that as the amount of wind energy in the system increases, the benefit of it decreases towards zero. We're gone by that period at least 2 years ago. And that's what they wrote. And he's working for them now. No word of that, okay? As Executive Director of General Trading, now I'll just skip down here. Spot prices for gas on the wholesale energy market have collapsed since the start of 2019, and I see now with the coronavirus, oil prices took a tumble of 30% yesterday. So gases are going to come down more. Do you think you're going to get a cut in your electricity price or your gas price? If there's anyone looking at that, I'm sorry, I'm laughing at you if you think that. Now, falling 50%. This is the gas. This time last year, according to Naturgy, a business energy supplier, this is mainly due to energy glut caused by the fracking of America. No wonder they didn't like Trump. He started fracking like mad. And there's a glut of energy. Now, so we just move on here. For Electric Ireland and Bord Gáis Energy, this ensures that households' peak winter fuel bills will be charged at the existing high tariffs. Oh, I hate that word, tariffs. Get me a generator as quick as I can. I'm going to buy a diesel generator. Get away from these creeps with their tariffs. So now, they're charged as the full whack despite the fact that since January last year, the fuel prices are on the floor and going to fall more, and you're going to be charged more. You're going to get no reduction, folks. None whatsoever. Now, figures from Eurostat, the European Statistics Agency, appear to bear this out. Irish energy prices are among the highest in Europe. Oh, God, how much did I pay for this paper to find out that? I've been preaching this for 10 years. Only households in Germany, Denmark, Belgium paid more for electricity last year. Now, I have videos up 2011 on this. And did anyone pay any heed? No. Whether the distortion is created by different national VAT rates... No, sorry. Just go back on that. When the distortion is created by different national VAT rates... Now, please listen carefully. When you take away the VAT rates, when it's removed, when you remove the VAT, Ireland emerges as Europe's most expensive country for electricity. Now, there you have it, black and white. Not only is it the most expensive country in Europe, but there's fake news at work here. It's the most expensive country in the world. This is partly explained by our small size. No, it's not. No, it's not. You pay the same for coal, oil and gas here as anywhere else. Nothing to do with our size. Geographic isolation. Do you ever hear of cables and wires? There was no problem up to 1990. No problem at all. We were doing well. And lack of nuclear power. Well, that's the law. They made the law. And does anyone really think that if we had a nuclear power station, it would make any difference? With these creeps, you'd be paying the same. In fact, it'd actually jack up the price. And what has nuclear power to do with it? We have collapsed fossil fuel prices, which helps us keep down electricity prices in countries such as France. Yes, well, France has cheap electricity, but if our beauties were working in France, they'd have them cleaned out as well. Another factor is the Irish consumers' appetite for price cuts may be less than it was in 2015. It's not that we don't want price cuts, we have no say worth trampled on. We're after voting en masse for the same. For Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and Labour and a heap of greenies, who all to have Breed Smith as she roared on about climate change all week. Right? And we don't know where Sinn Féin stand, but my bet is they'll be every bit as bad. And over in England, Boris Johnson is after restoring the refit, the grant system for onshore wind energy. So people get what they deserve. They have voted for this. Another factor is that the Irish consumer, they're saying that he's not as eager for price cuts. He wants to pay more. Good. Clean him out is the job. The climate crisis may have conditioned us to the era of cheap energy. That energy is over. The climate crisis has conditioned us that we accept being poor. Everything we earn goes on electricity into the pockets of big multinational companies, big executives and all the rest. And we're conditioned to this because of the weather in 100 years' time. See? So the climate crisis has conditioned us to accept high electricity prices. We're not going to have them cheap again. Well, we can go ways around it if we get enough time. We'll generate our own some way. We'll get diesel generators and battery packs. We'll have to. I had one there a while, but it was only a trial one. I had to give it back. We mightn't clamour for price reductions as much as in the past. I'll wait till they get a good scorch and wait till they have nothing. Till they can't even boil an egg. We'll see what they'll do. It is difficult to establish whether their pricing tactics have created a bonanza for energy providers. We don't have access to the information you need to determine when reductions should happen or what should be a fair reduction, said Owen Clark of Switch.ie. Well, Mr. Clark, I got news for you. I have access to it. I spent 2 hours talking to the energy regulator in 2010. I have access to it. We're paying billions to stupid solar wind farms and every old gimmick that they can come up with to throw before stupid ministers like Dennis Naughton and Richard Bruton. And we're agreed moving away from them at the polling booth, but we don't know what we're moving into. So it's utter nonsense to say we don't know. The Irish Energy blog has gone to extreme lengths to discover all this with access to information requests. And John Dooley, that comes on my channel here, has done that, and I have done it. Nobody wants to know. The media doesn't want to know. The reason why there's high electricity and gas prices is they are ripping us off. But my speciality is electricity. We have to keep nearly 12,000 megawatts of generating capacity of all types when we only need 6.5. And we're supplying electricity to Britain almost free. We're supplying the British consumer out of our bills. Recent financial results suggest that the sector is on a roll. ESB credited timing price changes. This means when the gas price falls, they don't pass on the benefit for a year or more. And when it goes up, they pass on the benefits immediately. Can anyone not see through that? Will Sinn Féin mention that? I've never heard them doing it. Maybe they will. I just can't say about them because I don't know. So the ESB got a good rise from a 25 million jump in operating profits to a 41 million in the first half of 2009 as its customer solutions division, which includes Electric Ireland. And they had to give 10 million, as we know, to Derrybrine Wind Farm, and they also pollute over there, and the taxpayer has to pay for it, and they're going to invest another 160 million, half of that I think in a one over in Mayo and half another big one up off Scotland. So we're going to be supplying the Scottish consumer as well. Oh gee, you couldn't make this stuff up. Earnings are also buoyant at Bord Gas Energy, which has a 45% share in the retail gas market. Its parent British company giant Centria reported a 20% increase in operating profits to 60 million in Ireland in 2019, even though the customer numbers slipped 1% to 726,000. Electric Ireland claimed it had better record than its rivals of shielding customers. Now, do you see here where they're confusing or conflating the gas and the electricity? So the article doesn't make sense. See the trick? This is fake news. And this is in the Sunday Times, and they're not the worst, in fairness. So when prices went up and they passed on, so the charges when they're shrinking their responsibilities when the prices go up, they pass it on straight away, and when the price goes down, they shrink their responsibilities. They don't pass it on. That's what it says, and they're passing on not passing on the benefits when the prices fell. Electricity Ireland is committed to providing the best value for the energy market said. Now you notice it's getting heavy weather. Heavy weather. There's nothing simple about this. Whereas you notice, as bad as I am, and I'm only an amateur, when I say something you'll understand it. Bord Gas Energy noted that it had led the current round of price reductions. We remain committed to doing all we can to ensure that our customers are receiving the best possible prices for their energy, and we continually monitor costs closely. You do. I'm sure I can do that. I can get their accounts and do the same. The Commission for Energy Regulator. Oh, make you see this fella. See, to change his name, he's CRU for Regulation of Utilities. What did I think of next for him? A government watchdog insists that consumers are not being shortchanged. He says, we're lovely. Oh, don't worry, folks. You're all right. I'll tell you, I have a bill for the main dwelling house. And I have a bill for the farm. And they're really getting stiff. They're tough. They're very, very tough. They're taking nearly all the bit of disposable income there is. So then the Commission for Energy Regulator says, not a bother are you there. Don't worry. You're lovely. Oh, that's the villain. That is the villain. We're obliged by law to monitor wholesale retail prices. I'd accept that do monitor them. And we're satisfied there isn't any issue over time, said John Melvin. Well, I'm sorry, John. But there is an issue. There is an issue. And every effort is being made by government to not let us get our hands on cheap gas in a bottle, cheap diesel, and cheap fuel of any kind, or cheap coal. Everything is designed to stop you getting your hands on the cheap product as it comes in raw. They want to try to process it into some other thing, energy, electricity, or bottled, or whatever it is, and they want to put on a massive rip-off on it, so they can go off and live in the sun while we are here struggling away. That's what's going on there. There isn't any issue, he says, right? We have full regulatory toolkit. Yeah, well, you don't use it. Toolkit, and we would use it to the extent necessary if there was an issue. No, you wouldn't. I had it out with them above in Dublin. And in fairness, they were nice to me. But I beat them hands down. They were being ripped off. Simple as that. Now, so there's another bit here. I'm concerned by potentially unfair pricing practices, said one industry insider. The insiders know damn well they're at this. It's bonanza time for resellers, which are making unprecedented high margins. They're showing some modest decreases in retail prices to keep on side with regulators and consumers. You know, they're just keeping them a wee bit happy with another wee cut here and there, and the bloody idiots are accepting it hook, line and sinker. But they are hopelessly inadequate in the current situation, where commodity prices for natural gas have been very low for the last 12 months. See, now I'll just go on as anything else I have marked here. Now, just one wee bit here. Consumers cannot expect to receive full benefit of falling prices because it only forms a part of the distribution. So that's true. There is other costs and all that. We don't want to receive the full benefit. We want to receive the benefit of the proportion of it. If gas is 40% of what you get out of the pipe, we want a reduction on that 40%, and an explanation as to why the else isn't done. Now, so we have here too, this gives certainty to... Oh no, I'll just move on here. There's so much here. Now, there's long delays passing this on to customers. We know that. High profit margins are a price worth paying for all the other benefits of deregulation, according to Mr. Melvin. No, they're not. You're better with all the one. This deregulation hasn't done anything for us. Nothing. And this idea of switching is going to benefit. How can, if they were all giving a decent deal to consumers, how can going to one not break the other one? So if one company were efficient, the other one would go out of business. There's nobody going out of business. Before deregulation, the regulator in effect set the way in which gas figures were bought. Gas futures were bought. Instead of trusting, well, that's about buying the gas into the future. You buy it a certain period on. Yet, you'll notice that when there's a shortage of gas or any fuel, it immediately is affected. In 1973, there was an oil crisis, and within a week, there was queues at the pumps. Well, where are these futures? Where is all this gas? But there is a future system. All right, I accept that. A commodity system. Now, has got to lead. Now, that's basically it all. Now, Electricity Board Gosh, the four suppliers are Electricity Ireland, Board Gosh, SSE Electricity and Energy. Okay, jumping between them to take advantage of teaser tariffs for new customers offers the best chance. So what he's recommending here, this Melvin fella that's in the regular, that you keep jumping. Oh, one crowd gives a bit of a deal, move and move and move. Instead of him doing his job, he wants us to do his job by jumping round from one to the other. Right? Now, cost down. The CRU estimated that the serial watch switchers could have shaved up to 1,700 off their bills over the past 4 years. And does he think we have nothing better to do? Do you think we can take days off and switch our electricity? And maybe be cut off from one and the other one no electricity for a week. I changed my internet provider at the farm and I got the deal done and signed up on a Saturday. And by last Saturday, that's 3 days ago, I hadn't one. And they're working on it today. I'm 7 days without electricity. Sorry, without the internet. How do you know if you switch, they won't do the same to you? And it's a messy, ugly procedure. So he says you can save 1,700 over 4 years. As if you had nothing else to do. And how do you know? Who has time to do it? Who has time to be up every morning looking at this? That's his job. His job. So switching providers an immediate fix for those looking for cheaper energy, but it cannot deflect attention from the biggest issue about why prices have been so slow to fall. And for that, nobody seems willing to step up to the job. We get ripped off all the time, folks. You know the story. But there's also the issue of these stupid wind farms. Even as much as they pay them, they still can't make money. They still can't make money. Now, I put in a complaint yesterday morning on this ad by SSE Electricity. Wait till we see will it be pulled away. Watch it. It's on the radio night, noon and morning. I drove to Dublin last Wednesday and it was on twice on Pat Kenny's show. 100% renewable electricity. You can't produce 100% renewable electricity now or at any time in the future. So we'll see what happens to that complaint. It's gone in. I have no doubt it'll get nowhere. They'll find some way to block it. We'll just see. It's unbelievable that in a population here of nearly 4 million, that it all falls to me to try and hit these villains with this stuff. So it's all a massive racket, and people think Sinn Féin's going to do something. I don't know. But I think that Sinn Féin probably won't get into government. I don't know. Anyway, that's my bit of a rant. People say I'm only a crank. It's no joke having to dip into your pocket and keep all these wasters hanging around and paying for a regulator out of your pocket that doesn't work. That's my view of it. And it's I don't know, does everyone think that? I get a lot of stick from the left. Oh, you're only a crank and you're only this and you're only an old farmer and all this. Bottom line is, we'll have a look at generating your own. It's very inconvenient. I know it's very inconvenient, but we'll see. At least if I can alert people to what's going on, they might be less likely to believe all the nonsense they hear. What to do about it, I don't know. It'll be over to Sinn Féin eventually. So now 22 minutes, that's not too bad. I'm off now. I'll try and see can I get my battery charged up. I want to deal with another important issue. And thank you very much. We'll see you back, okay?